Life is full of new situations. And most of us have parents, right? Well, now that you got married, you have two sets of parents. We're used to our parents telling us what to do, setting boundaries and limits. We're used to bouncing ideas off of them. Usually, if we have good parents, they're there for us, and we're used to leaning on them all the time. But guess what? Now that you're married, everything changes. You don't change how you love your parents. And of course, you want to spend a little time with them, but your spouse comes first now. And that's one of the biggest things. And I would say that's one of the biggest things that causes trouble in marriage is when the in-laws step in and they step over that line and one spouse or the other is very frustrated and very irritated about it. So today we are looking at why in-law conflict happens, and then we're going to look at how to move past it. Then I'm going to share with you a guide I have that will help you navigate in-law relationships. So make sure that you look that up and get it and use it and talk with your spouse about it after you finish today so you really make good use of this podcast. All right. So do your in-laws have no boundaries? They forgot to cut the umbilical cord. Well, if you don't have any trouble, you probably didn't click on this episode, right? It happens. But where can you draw the line? How do you set those boundaries? And which set of parents comes first? Do either one come first? Do you accept their help, but maybe you have trouble accepting their advice? Truly, your parents have been there. They've been through everything. I mean, like they've got years of experience, right? They've been there, done that. But how well did they do? Do you want to emulate what you grew up with? Well, was your family so loving, kind, thoughtful, and successful that you welcome their advice and want to emulate it? So that's the first thing that you want to stop and think about. Think about your family, have your spouse think about their family, and then talk about it. The truth is that none of us are perfect and we're all doing the best we can. And literally most of the time we emulate what went on in our family. And so either good things are passed down from family to family, or challenges are passed down. And if you don't stop and think about it and talk about it, then you're just gonna keep doing the same thing, right? So what does your family look like? So what I want you to do is after you listen today, stop and have a conversation with your spouse. Philippians, the book of Philippians, chapter 2, verse 4 says, let each of you look not only at his own interest, but also to the interest of others. That means instead of just looking at my in-laws and thinking, they are driving me crazy, like they're calling too much, they're asking for too many things, but look at it from their side. Look at it from your own parents' side. If you had good and loving parents, then they still want to spend a little time with you. They still want to hear from you, and things are done in love. It's when people get pushy that things get bad. But as we're going to talk today, every personality style kind of does things differently, and that makes a big difference. Ephesians 4:32 says, be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another as God in Christ forgave you. Hey, if God forgave us, then we are to forgive others. So when there are challenges, they start to just eat at us, frustrate us. But when you hang on to anger and frustration, it just hurts you. Every time you hear their name, it's like, ugh, and their family. So you really can't get rid of them. And besides that, I've known several people through the years who they did not talk to their mom, their own mom, not their in-laws, but they didn't talk to their own mom. Maybe because she felt that she stepped over the line, and they were frustrated with her. And what happened then is when their kids got grown up, they didn't speak to their mom. So stop and think right now. When my children, you might not have any yet, or you might, but when my children grow up, do I still want to have a relationship with them? What kind of relationship would I like to have with them? So, in-laws, when they are stepping over that line, they make you feel angry, frustrated. They make you feel unseen by your spouse because they're paying more attention to their parents than you. You feel unimportant and you feel unappreciated. Yeah, this is just not a good thing in marriage. It takes you nowhere and it takes you down the wrong road because you want to put one another first. And how do you do that? How do you put one another first and still respect and love your parents? Well, what happens when parents aren't respecting your boundaries as a married person? They're forgetting that you're independent and you get to make your own choices. They might be dropping by unannounced. Yeah, I never did go for that. I want to make sure I'm dressed, my house is straight. There's a lot of different reasons, respectfully, that you always let somebody know that you're coming by. And the earlier, the better. Like if you say, I'm coming by in 5 minutes, I'm like, oh my gosh, you always hear about people stuffing their closets full, right? But I myself like for someone to let me know when they're coming by, if they plan to do that. And so I want to make sure that I do that myself. Do they demand your spouse's attention anytime, day or night? They want them to run over and help with this or do that, and you're not consulted? That causes trouble. Do they demand to be heard and obeyed? Sometimes people are really controlling, and like I said, they can't cut that umbilical cord, and so they expect their kid, grown married kid, to still do everything they say, or they expect to be included in on the decisions, that kind of thing. And this pushes a couple apart because you want to be unified in your life, you want to be unified in your decisions, and you want to move forward together. It causes a lot of frustration. Sometimes in-laws criticize your decisions that you've made, and sometimes they may like pitch a little fit and like, you didn't do what I said, so now I'm not gonna talk to you anymore. Or even worse, they may scream or yell at you. All right, I never had to do it, take part in any of that, so hopefully you don't have that situation. So through everything you hear today, you're just going to have to figure out what can we do? But the main theme is talking about it and doing it together because it's up to the two of you to look at your families and decide what you want your own family to be like. So why is this happening? Well, there's all different values. Families are not just alike. Everybody does things differently. And besides, what's important to you? Is faith important to you? Is truth, being truthful? Yeah, nobody wants to live with a liar, right? How about compassion and empathy and being thoughtful of one another? How about honesty? Well, I think that goes back to being truthful, doesn't it? What do you value most and you want to be a part of your relationship? Well, another thing that happens is money differences. Maybe one set of parents spends their paycheck, all of it, every time they get it, and it's gone. And then, so that spouse, that offspring that they produced, they might also spend all their money because they don't know any better. Or do they think they need to save most of the money? Do they set a budget and use bill pay and pay their bills monthly and make sure they're always paid up? So money makes a difference. And when it comes to the in-laws, however they do, they expect you to do. There again, you have to stop with each other. And guess what? You can learn a lot from one another because we don't know what we don't know until suddenly one day we know it. Suddenly one day we're like, oh, well, I never heard that. I never realized that. So there's two people in this relationship, and you do come from different families, and you can learn a lot from one another if you learn to listen. Each family has a different idea of responsibilities when it comes to working and providing, taking care of kids, taking care of the house, groceries, cooking, all that kind of yard work, all that kind of stuff. So every family has their own idea of what they think is correct and right. And there again, if you're not doing what your in-laws think you should be doing, then they may be challenging you on that. Cultural differences. We live in a day and time where all different cultures of people are getting married, and those family values and ideas and faith and all of those things are different. And so, you're attracted to one another. You start dating, you just see everything that's wonderful in one another, and then you get married and you're together day in and day out, and there becomes, challenges. So, cultural differences, also going back to your in laws, expectations, what they expect. Each one expects something different. And you're probably already finding that between you and your spouse, expectations make a difference. Your in laws forgot what it's like to be a newlywed. Your in-laws forgot what it's like when you're having your first kids, and you're like, wherever you're at in your relationship right now, your in-laws have been there, but they've forgotten what that's like, because most people do tend to do that. They forget what it's like when they move on to the next stage. That's why it's important to talk with one another and figure out how to have a conversation with them. I believe in being proactive and setting forward with it before we're so frustrated that we just can't even talk about it without being angry, frustrated, sarcastic, whatever all. And Matthew 19:6, the book of Matthew, chapter 19 and verse 6 says, "They are no longer two, but one flesh. What therefore God has joined together, let not man separate." That's what we hear at most every wedding, right? So they are no longer two, but they are one flesh. There again, you need to sit down together and talk about this. All right. Another thing that is a why this is happening is there's different personality styles. And literally those expectations happen upon what you've experienced before and your personality style, because everybody looks at things differently. First of all, let's see what I said here. The personality and expectations of your spouse and both sets of parents have a lot to say about this. This is the personality styles. And if you listen to some of my stuff, you hear this a lot. There's four kinds of people, and you're gonna see your in-laws in one of these. Like, you could probably figure out each one. One style is very direct, demanding, and expecting. This is just how they are. If you're direct and they're direct, you're probably bumping heads. And that's a little hard to solve sometimes. But if one is very demanding and direct and expects a lot, and you're the opposite of that, you feel like you're being walked on. You feel like you're being walked on all the time, and you don't know what to do. Stay with me. One style is friendly. They're friendly and they love being with you, but they may forget about boundaries. And so you kind of have to lovingly remind them. Another style is a pleaser and a caretaker. This style has the hardest time because they want to please their parents. They want to please you. They want to please their parents. They want to please you. Do you see what I'm saying? They are pleasers, and they want to take care of you, and they want to take care of their parents. And if their parents are really demanding, they don't know how to please both of you. It is really a problem for them. If you learned the full set of personality styles, you'll start to understand how to work with people that are different than you, and how sometimes when people are overbearing, it is their personality style and it's just how they are. It causes a lot of havoc in marriages too, when this happens within a marriage. And then the fourth style is critical and controlling. It's just how it is. They, instead of seeing the positive side of everything, they see what went wrong, what can go wrong. Um, and they're very controlling because, they want the best for you and they think they know the best for you. And so they're very controlling and they want to control your every move. Yeah, that's very, very frustrating. Well, you know what? I've been married over 40 years and I've been there, done that. I have had in laws and I am a mother-in-law to two, you know? So, what I remember about my mom-in-law is that she raised four boys. She was very confident. She was loving towards me. I'm only 5 foot tall. I remember whenever my mom-in-law took me shopping, and she just insisted that I buy petites. Back then I didn't buy petites because they were more expensive. I hemmed everything. But I remember that she cared enough to say, "Oh, Connie, I'm going to take you and shop for your birthday, and we're going to look in the petite section." I remember at a one of those parties where you buy pictures and things, her buying me a picture, and she did things for me like that I couldn't afford, and I appreciated her. We met at their house for dinner every Sunday after church, and I didn't mind that. I'm social and I just didn't mind that. And as the kids got bigger, we went over there more for holidays and all those kind of things. And honestly, it was fun. So I didn't have that challenge with my mother-in-law that you might be having. But since I understand behavior styles and personality styles, I do understand the havoc and the troubles that can cause. But she was loving. And I have to say, you know, I am an optimistic personality. I tend to look at the positive, and I enjoy being with people. But if she, once in a while, there was a couple of things. Actually, I'll share this. I remember one year I was pregnant, so she was persistent. She was mom. She was persistent sometimes. So I had a 2-year-old, and I was pregnant, and my second child was due anytime. And we would go to the Durham family reunion every single year. And sometimes we couldn't afford it. We'd ride with my in-laws. And but this year I was pregnant and I was due within the next couple of weeks. And one thing was I didn't feel like I could go because I might have that baby in a minute, any minute. I did not know that I was going to go 2 weeks late every time I was pregnant. Yes, I did that. But so I was already overdue at that point, actually. So I had my 2-year-old, and she wanted to take my 2-year-old with her. And I know a lot of people like that's no big deal for them, but oh my gosh, I'm very attached to my kids, and it's like I just couldn't allow my little baby, my 2-year-old, to go that far without me. Nothing against her. She was extremely responsible. She knew more stuff than I did. She never did anything wrong in that direction. I would have loved to have been able to let her take him, but I just couldn't do it. Well, there became a little persistence in that, and there was a little pressure from some other family members. And hey, I had pregnancy brain, so once I was pushed a little bit, it's like I lost it. I was so upset. And I'm not one who can just turn around and spout back to her and get mad and say, "Hey, I'm not doing that. Leave me alone." I couldn't do it. And so, oh man, I mean, I cried. I cried about that. I was so upset. I wanted to please her, but I just could not because I couldn't let go. Yeah, so he didn't get to go. He stayed with my mom that was closer by. And yes, I had the baby that weekend. So it all turned out okay. And you let things go and you move on. Things happen. You just have to let things go and move on. But my own parents live in the same area, and my mother-in-law was like really family first, into getting together all the time. And my mom was into doing holidays and that kind of thing, but she was just didn't need us to come over all the time and that kind of thing. So you see, people are all different. They're all different. But I'm a mother-in-law now, and I have 15 grandkids because I have a couple of blended families. 15 grandkids. Yeah, man. Well, I try to deal with things in love and be thoughtful and kind, put myself in their place. But you know what? You can never be everything to everyone, and you can't do everything perfect. You're going to irritate somebody somewhere. So I try to deal with things in love, and I just pray that my daughter-in-laws, will do the same. Because when it comes to your daughter, if you have a good relationship, you can talk straightforward to them. But when you have daughter-in-laws, their families did things one way and they think according to their personality style. one way that kind of, remember, the expectations are colored by your personality style and how you were raised. And so I try to take that into, um, um, I can't think of the word, perspective. I try to think about that and think about how this looks to them because I always try to put myself in their place. And number one, I want my sons to always put their wives first. I want my sons to always put their wives first. I just want them to have a wonderful relationship, a loving, kind. I want them to enjoy one another. So, can you see where I'm coming on that? But everybody doesn't see things the same way. So, you can learn all about those personality styles in my Rediscover Your Spouse workshop. It's an on-demand class at this time at theextraordinarymarriage.com. Theextraordinarymarriage.com. I really, I think newlyweds, people before they get married, people who are married, people who have been married for 50 years even, can watch that, take notes, talk about it, and they will not believe the things that they learn, even though they've lived with each other all these years. The book of First Peter 3:8 says, "Finally, all of you be like-minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate, and be humble." What if we all live by those things and we are thoughtful of the other person? There might be some other mother-in-laws listening to this. But there again, I say, if you're having trouble with your mother in law, think about what you want to look like when you are a mother in law. And if you learn to look from the middle, it'll help you a little bit understand better. Well, like I said, I think that you should look everything with love. So I've done the acronym here, and it is this. L stands for listen attentively. Don't interrupt. And this is actually love for the two of you. When you're talking with your spouse and you're reviewing some of the things we're talking about today, L stands for listen attentively. Don't interrupt your spouse. Listen to them. Listen to what it was like when they were a kid. Listen to why this is important if they're like doing too much with their mom or with their dad or their parents are horning in on everything. Listen to them, and then, they should listen to you. O is for offer support. You always want to offer support. You want to encourage one another. But remember that you want your spouse to be your number one. And when you do that, there's not going to be so much division because you got each other's back. V is for value each other, show appreciation. Some personality styles forget to say thank you. You're important to me. I love you. And they do appreciate you. They just forget to tell you that. But show appreciation. Let your spouse know how important they are to you. E is for engage in fun. Do things together. Laugh a lot. This is an important one, and I teach some things about romantic love and keeping that romantic love in your marriage, in your relationships, doing things together. Laugh a lot, have some fun. So, what kind of people skills, and I'm going to get to a couple more things here at the end, so stay with me. What kind of people skills do you think that you have? Because, your skills make a difference, your in laws' skills make a difference, and everybody's not the same. So, remember this: be listening, open minded. Can you see the other side? What's it like for them? Be respectful. Give the respect that you want to get. This is for the whole world, isn't it? Give the respect, people, that you want to get from other people. If you don't give respect, you end up being disrespected. Be optimistic. Are you optimistic or are you pessimistic? Do you see the bad side of everything or do you see the good side? Are you afraid of your spouse paying too much attention to your in laws? Are you jealous? Just saying. Your personality colors your perspective and how you see things. The book of Colossians 3:12 says, "Therefore, as God's chosen people, holy and dearly loved, clothe yourself with compassion, kindness, humility, gentleness, and patience." This is not only good in your marriage, yes, of course, but also with your in laws. You can't help how they act, but you can control how you act. Well, I'm an emotional being, so I understand that. Yes, I can control myself and how I act, but if I get my feelings hurt or I really get mad about something, those emotions just flood forward, right? But if you are looking at what you're thankful for, what is good, you can find some things. So jot those down when you're doing those notes, right? Jot those down. First Peter says, finally, First Peter says 3:8, and 1 Peter 3, verse 8 says, finally, all of you, be like minded, be sympathetic, love one another, be compassionate and humble. And if you just look at these verses, I can't say what my in laws are supposed to be. I can't decide how they're going to act, but I can decide how I'm going to act. Learn to set boundaries, set down and talk about it. Talk about what you value most in your marriage so you can figure out what you're going to say when you go talk to them. Use my guide to peaceful conversations. Remember, listen to each other, be open minded. I see your side. I pray you see my side. I see my in law side. Be respectful. I'm respectful of my spouse's upbringing. I'm respectful for who they are. I want them to be respectful for who I am. And I'm going to look at the best side of things. I'm going to be optimistic and I'm going to have hope for something better. So, hopefully, today you have found some of the reasons that there is trouble with in laws and some ways to overcome it. So be sure and grab my guide. I'm going to put that in the notes so that you can get connected to that. My name is Connie Durham, and I am with the Extraordinary Marriage, and I want you to have an extraordinary marriage. You can do that. You can do that because when you're growing, you're learning, and you're getting better for one another. Thanks for listening.